Okay, thank you, Matt. Thanks for the opportunity. So VentureFace is a Asia Pacific growth building company for hardware startups. And me personally, I started this company because I have been in the hardware startup ecosystem for about 8 years, and I was a product manager, I was a marketing manager, and eventually I was doing international sales, which in previous company I was in the sales role in my previous hardware startups. One of them I was one of the co-founders, and so the more and longer I do this kind of business, I figured that there are two primary challenges for any hardware startup in the world. Number one is manufacturing, and number two is go to market. Manufacturing side, there are a lot of good places and good organizations like venture capitals or hardware accelerators that are starting to help hardware startups around the world to overcome the difficulty of without any resources or money or funding. But I see the biggest problem is the go-to-market challenge, which is you basically, if you are a hardware startup, you have a fantastic product plan for next step into the mass market. So that's why I started VentureFace. So basically, we are a Asia Pacific growth building company. We provide services, sales as a services, marketing as a services to hardware startups that can help hardware startups to go into the market in Asia Pacific markets. So what we do is very simple. We handhold with hardware startup customers around the world to make them ready for the retail market, to the mass market. And we have a very experienced sales team and marketing team to help them craft the strategies as well as execute the strategies. So if you are hardware startups looking at this, and you can consider us as a just like you were sales team in the Asia Pacific region that can help you get fast access to Asia Pacific markets, the retail channels, the airport duty free stores, and some of the online stores in every and basically that's what we do. And we have passion and vision for hardware startups. I like hardware startups, and I like hardware innovations. I would say more than anybody else, at least in our services. And so that's what we do. And we are based in Taipei, Taiwan now. We are expanding to other countries. Yeah, this is a very good question. That's the first question. Probably the one that I get the most. So the quick answer is that the sooner the better, and the earlier the better. And if you are a founder that is thinking about having a hardware startups, I think that it's the best to start planning for distribution right from the beginning. Now, I'm not saying that you should do the distribution right from the beginning. I'm saying you need to ahead. So the reason is that a lot of there's a very important, I would say, like a myth that hardware startups nowadays I feel they are encountering is that because whatever feedbacks or proof of concept you get from crowdfunding or early stage customers, the feedbacks are from what we call innovators and early adapters. So think about how they buy your product, right? They don't even see the product. They probably see you on crowdfunding platform like Indiegogo or Kickstarter, they like the video, they like the image, they like positioning, they like the design and price, and they just pull out their credit card and buy it. But this kind of customers, they are not a fraction of your potential eventually. This type of customers, what we call they are innovators or early adopters. These feedbacks are not from the mass market, from the retail channels. So the best way is that you have a firm idea. When you have a firm idea of a product and you are planning for a crowdfunding campaign or you're doing a prototyping, you start doing market research for mass market distribution by answering questions like which countries you should start first once you finish the crowdfunding shipment, and which channels are ideal for your products, and where are the buyers, and where are the channel partners, where are they based, and which trade shows you need to go to eventually, etc., etc. So we need to do the market research real early, and so when you go into the crowdfunding campaign and you do whatever the crowdfunding campaign and the early adopters will whatever will make them buy, right? But at the same time, you keep in mind that you already have a plan, that after this crowdfunding you will have a plan to go to the market, so that you won't you will be more likely that you will not fail or die after the crowdfunding shipment. There's a lot of hardware startups that we know, and it's all around. They basically cannot survive after crowdfunding shipment, which is it's really bad. Some of their products are very very good, but anyway, I think my suggestions and feedbacks would be sooner or later. It's best to start planning right from the beginning. I think yes. So if you are already taking money from investment from accelerators or crowdfunding or venture capital, it's kind of different. So let me break it down a little bit. So if you are taking investment from an accelerator, there are a lot of power accelerators, right? So like I mentioned before, these accelerators, they are very helpful in terms of helping you manufacture your products with the right cost, with the right vendor. Produce the product. And there, I think a lot of the accelerator programs, they also have connections with the distribution because they have advisors, they have experts in the program that can help you to craft the strategy. So that does make a lot of sense. So some of the power startups that come from accelerated program that I found that they are more ready than other hardware startups. Now the second type is crowdfunding. So if you only using your own money or from your family or friends to create your company, and you successfully deliver a crowdfunding project and you deliver the products. And in this situation, you need to be, if you are the owner of this kind of company, you need to be very aware that you might be not prepared enough for the mainstream market, for the distribution market. So if you are a company that's taking money investment from venture capital, well, because venture capital, if you are lucky enough to do that, because the investors would be very, how can I say, they'll be very demanding about your strategies, about your plans, about your product roadmaps, everything before they invest. So they will usually they will ask you to come up with a plan before the crowdfunding project or during the crowdfunding project and they want to see your actual plan, and you have the ability to execute those plans after the success of the crowdfunding project. So I do think, the type of initial funding does affect how prepared startups will be when it comes to get the product distributed. Yeah, definitely. This is a very like a broad question, so I will have to break it down a little bit. So number one key, I think, is planning, and the key for planning is the timing. As I mentioned, I would definitely recommend that you need to plan really from the beginning, because again, the reasons that those innovators or backers, what we call it, the backers, they buy your products simply because they are cool, or they are somehow really unique, right? And that's where your innovation has the value in. So that's good. But when you go into the early majority, the mass market, you want to do that eventually, because nobody wants to invest their money and energy creating something that has no potential in the future, right? So, so you need to plan really ahead, so that when you go to the market after the crowdfunding campaign, you have a plan, and you know which countries, where are the channels you need to enter first, and at least you know those people. You probably don't have competitive products because you are an innovative product, but at least in the information you can get, at least from the internet, through Google or whatever search, you can find similar products, or alternative products, the brands, and their selling prices, retail, or their wholesale prices, etc. You have to do your diligence. You have to do your work to research all this, and come up with a rough plan. And keep in mind that the plan for crowdfunding projects and the plan for the mass market, they can be completely different. There's no problem with that, because eventually the buying factors, the factors that two types of people buy your products, they are usually more than often completely different. And so number one is planning, and number two is the execution. To break it down real quick, is that I think once you have a plan, and what's going to happen is that you are doing the crowdfunding campaign, and you probably, after the crowdfunding campaign, you probably put 99% of your resource on the production, on the delivery, on the communicating and updating the backers that, okay, this is our schedule, this is our problem we face, and we are fixing it. But I would suggest that do have at least minimum 5% to 10% of your resource to pack your products, and to have some sort of plan, and to talk to the distribution channels and the buyers and the countries that you are about to enter after the crowdfunding campaign, to get their feedbacks, right? So the reason is, when you are doing the production and the delivery, and there's a chance that you can still maybe modify a little bit about your design, about your cost, about your prices. So if you can get the feedbacks from the buyers, from the distributors, or from the end consumers that are not backers, they can give you a very valuable input, so that you can have some time and room to sort of tweak your plan for the mass market. So when the time really comes, you can be much more ready for the retail. So I'll give you a very quick example. So for example, nowadays we do hardware startups. We want to make the retail price as affordable as possible to the consumers. But so let's say we make a product, the cost is $30, and a lot of times I see that the hardware shops, they do a crowdfunding campaign, the retail price is suggested maybe $90 or $99. And because they want to give a very good discount to the backers, so the backer price would be maybe $80 or $70 something. So now the retail price and the cost is only 3 times. Now in this structure, it will not be enough for mass market distribution. You need to have your retail price and the cost about at least 3 something to 4 times. It depends on your product, or even 5 or 6 times before you are ready to go to the market. So again, when it comes to planning, when it comes to execution, so I think you need to do you need to be very careful. You need to plan right and execute the go-to-market, the distribution plan, right from about you are about to ship the crowdfunding project, to ship the crowdfunding products to your backers. So you have some chance, some time, and to change the design and whatever plan you plan to do after the crowdfunding project. So I think that's a very general suggestion. So plan right and execute right and at the right timing. That's was something I would recommend. I would say, so no matter what, so number one thing is, no matter what products you are making, it's hardware. And when it comes to hardware, it comes to sales, it comes to international trading, if you plan eventually to go to international market. So I think the number one, I used to have this supplies, but now I don't anymore because I've seen a lot and I've talked to a lot of people. But number one, I would say I was surprised that like the founders and the managers, the early stage founders of the hardware startup, they are not familiar with, I wouldn't say distribution, I would say like basically buying and selling, especially international buying and selling, or we call trading. Right? So trading is nothing new. Trading has been maybe more than 100 years. And in modern days, I mean, for the past decades, we, at least in Asia Pacific, so the trading has its own, terms and norms and regulations, and just the way how people do international trading and distribution. So that's the number one. For example, if you want to do trading, you need to know what's the payment term, right? FOB, CIF, and EXW. These are the terms of payment of international trading. And you need to understand. So when you come to when it comes to distribution, international trading, does the buyer pay 100% before the shipment, or does he pay 50% down payment and 50% after shipment, or it's all next 30 days, next 60 days, meaning they got the products after 30 days, they will pay you the full amount, or the worst term for hardware startup is the consignment. So you basically, consignment is you ship out maybe 500 units or 1,000 units, and the customers pay you after they actually sell out the products. Right? That's pretty bad. So you have to produce that as inventory and then sell to them, but you don't get paid after maybe 3 months or 6 months, depending on how fast it sells and how well they can sell. So that's number one. And the number two is, I would say, because especially in Asia, I don't see this, well, I think startups from Silicon Valley or America or Canada or basically Western countries, they are usually very good at design, very good at marketing, branding, very good at the sort of go-to-market strategies, because a lot of times these companies, their founders are designers or salespeople. They have this idea and then they do it. But they will have problem with the manufacturing. But now, like I said, there are more organizations helping with the manufacturing, right? So that's a problem for the Western hardware startups, and for the Oriental hardware startups, I mean, from Asia Pacific, the founders are usually engineers, product managers. They don't have any marketing or sales background, so that can be a real problem because they know everything about manufacturing, and they probably can get a lot of resources on manufacturing, solve all the technical issues. But they may plan the product and price the product with the wrong positioning, in the market, and that's really dangerous because they probably don't even find out after they realize, wow, this is the wrong price, this is the wrong product, the wrong selling pitch to the market, the customers, the consumers. I'm talking about mass market consumers, the buyers from the channels, they are not buying it, and that's really dangerous. So yeah, it's about those things. Generally speaking, when you have a hardware innovation and you have a product, and at the very early stage, even after the crowdfunding campaign, you only have a product. You don't have a company. You don't have a brand. Right? I'm talking about from operational point of view. You just have a product. You have a team, and yes, you have an entity. But for the market, to investors and to the mass market, you are not yet an established brand or established company with enough infrastructures and operation and marketing and branding department, all that to support your brand, right? So every company has to sort of move there from step by step. So I think if we are talking about really like executional level, I think the first thing you need to do, again, you need to make sure your planning is right, and whatever marketing you do in the crowdfunding campaign, you are not doing the branding. As to my knowledge, you are not doing the branding. So, but when you go into the mass market and the distribution channels, you probably have a brand name, a really good product, and maybe 3 to 5 models of the products. Now, you must have some sort of ideas or what got you started with the innovation, and that is your core in terms of a brand for the future. That's your core. So you need to build a story, a better story, not just the story you show on the Kickstarter campaign that, oh, my name is Peter Xie, I'm from where, and this, one day I found this is a problem, so I dive in and I create this product. So you need to move away, you need to escalate from that to a higher point that, okay, this is my brand, this is my company, this is what I do, this is what we do, and we do this because of the problem. And the market we are seeing is this, and the similar products are like that, so we are better than that. You need to create a whole new rationale around your products and brands, along with your very clear product positioning and pricing, and the strategy and the plan. so that you talk to the distributors or the end consumers, they can understand that, oh, this is a company and it's a new company, it's okay. But they are solving these issues and their plan is this and their price is this. So it kind of makes sense. So I don't know if I answered the question straightforward enough, but I think it's all comes down to basics that I wouldn't say that you need to be very strategic or high level at the beginning. I would say you just create a story around your products, around your brand, not around your technology, not around your innovation. Yeah. Before I talk about my own opinions, I think we can all take a second to look at the most successful hardware startups we are known to so far. So we can think about maybe GoPro, used to be very successful, right? And we can think about Pebble, who got acquired. We can think about Misfit, and we can think about any other. There are just a few. So if you look closely if you look at their history, you will find out one thing that is common, that they are from, most of them are from United States. And they did online sales on their website and Amazon for about 3 or 4 years. Before that, they actually went into the distribution. And the reason is very simple, that they went on this path, or like the same path. And it's very simple because distribution and retail business and the brick and mortar business in big markets like United States, European markets, and maybe in Asia, China. The big continental markets, that's what I would call it, is that the problem of big continental markets for hardware startups is that these markets, they are so big that distributions are big, much bigger than hardware startups, and the retailers are even bigger, and they have tremendous pressure financially because they are public companies. So they would care less about your innovation than you do. They would care way less. They would care about your potential and your the potential of the innovation. But when you present to these guys, you only have one shot. Basically, if you failed, no matter the reason, what the reason is, you probably only have another chance. You will have another chance next year, because their buying season is very like regular, like 2 times or 3 times a year, and you miss that or you fail, then you have to do it next year. So the retail and the distribution in these big continental markets are very tough. I'm talking about their payment terms. They are usually consignment. They are usually more than 60 or 120 days payment and consignment, and all refundable. And these are national accounts. So when you launch your product in the retail, let's say they have 500 stores, and if they place 500 store and you have 3 colors, so if they want you to enter every store, that's usually what happens. So you have 1.5K, but they will usually have inventory in the stores. So let's say 4 units per color, so that's 6K already. And remember, they are not paying you upfront. They will pay you after 90 days or 120 days. So it's tough. So even the best hardware startups that we know, they went on this path. And so which comes down to one of the biggest reasons that VentureFace helps startups pick Asia Pacific region, helps startups to penetrate the Asia Pacific region, is that every Asia Pacific round country has different language and cultures, but with the right ways and the right connections, you can actually penetrate these countries very fast. And the initial POs and the risk and the resource you need to manage to get into these countries, they are very friendly to how it starts. For example, I shared one of the examples with you a couple, last time we met, that a wireless charging in Los Angeles, how we started that we represent right now. So from this January 2017, January to now, it's about almost 8 months. From zero, we opened 5 countries for them. And that means at least 5